Hello, I'm Steve Hand, licensed psychologist, certified advanced alcohol and drug counselor, and thanks for taking a look at me and what I have to say. Today, I'll be talking about domestic violence. Now, this is a series on self-improvement for normal people, and I want to quickly review the videos I've already done in this series. The first one was an introduction in terms of what my overall goal is. The second was the relationship between thinking, feeling, and doing. Also a description of the difference between rational thinking and irrational thinking. The next video was on the normal curve and how most of us do fit within the range, a certain range in the middle of the normal curve. The fourth video was on relationships in general. This video today, the fifth video, is on domestic violence. Now, this is a very important topic because, domestic violence is an all too common occurrence, and there's a lot of destruction, death, injuries, and it affects an awful lot of people in the United States and in other countries. And by the way, about 1/4 of you so far are from the United States, but 3/4 of you are watching from another country. So hopefully you speak English. Otherwise, hopefully you have a translator. But this is a worldwide problem, domestic violence, and I'll talk about why. The last video we talked about healthy relationships. Now we're going to talk about what goes wrong and how that can develop into very serious violence. The reason I'm bringing this up is last summer in the United States, there was a highly publicized case on social media, Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. They were making a trip out west and were documenting it over social media. And that's one reason it got so highly publicized, is it was semi-public until there was an incident where they could not be found and Gabby was missing, and there was a police search, and this went on for weeks until she was found dead. And then Brian Laundrie apparently made his way back home to Florida, and eventually he was found dead too. So this was a terrible tragedy, and my condolences to the families and friends of both Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. It's, like I say, a horrible tragedy. But this is a potential result. And I don't know the facts about the case in terms of the day-to-day interactions between them. But I want to talk about what could happen and what does happen in other people's relationships that could lead to this. Now, hindsight is 20/20, right? So when you look at your relationship, and let's say you talk to a friend and your friend says, I've been assaulted by my husband for a few years now. You wonder, well, why didn't you stop it in the beginning? It's not so easy, because we don't see how things develop in a relationship, okay? But we can learn from hindsight. And these are the things to think about in the beginning of a relationship. What are the red flags? If a person talks disrespectfully to you, or in a threatening manner, or shows violence in some way, even violence toward an object, seems to have a temper problem, like maybe breaks things or throw things, that should be a red flag. or if the person tells you that they have a history of hurting someone or striking someone, that's a red flag. So yeah, in hindsight, if someone hits you for the first time or is violent toward you in some other way, you really need to take action. You really need to take action. Some people would say, that's it, I'm out of here. But at least to make an agreement at that point to that if either of you are violent toward the other, then you have to separate. Because that's way out of bounds. Way out of bounds. Okay? In sports, there are rules, there are boundaries. Even in a violent sport like football, there's excessive force, there's unnecessary roughness, there's all kinds of things. You can't exceed the bounds, just like in a relationship. So, well, how does a person get to be that angry? Well, irrational thinking. It's about irrational thinking. If you saw the video where the police stopped Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, and they were interviewing Gabby, and she was talking about, she was very upset. She was hyperventilating and referring somehow to saying that maybe she was obsessive compulsive or kind of blaming herself. That's there's no reason for it. There's still no reason. You can have a mental health problem, but the other person, why are they striking the person? That's definitely out of bounds. So the must, should, and have to tends to lead toward angry or acting out behavior. All right, not always violence toward the other person, but if there's a history of that, or let's say a person has seen that in their family or was the victim of violence, or even excessive punishment, such as hard spanking or other unusual discipline, that's violence. And they may be more likely to use violence in their relationships. So that's why I think it's so important to express yourself. If you're not happy, if you're angry, it's important to tone yourself down and just clearly say to the person, this is really bothering me. Let's say if it was a problem, let's say if Brian was upset at Gabby for being too much of a neat freak, he could have said, it really bothers me when you clean up that much. Could we just kind of relax about that? Or he could have tolerated a little irritation, a little annoyance. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's certainly not worth hurting somebody over. Some people aren't perfect. We all have our faults. We all have annoying habits. So you want to expect your partner to have some annoying habits, and you're going to expect some disagreements. It doesn't justify a violent response. I worked with one couple who they both had a history of addiction, and the woman apparently relapsed, and the man hit her for relapsing, because not only she relapsed, but she hid it from him for a while. And so he justified that because she broke a promise that she would never relapse. So, but you can always justify anything, but violence is out of bounds. And that's important to make an agreement on from the beginning. The best predictor of the future is the past. Is it? right? The best predictor of the future is the past. So, um, you know, don't be shocked if a person's acting the same way they did yesterday today. You know, people are pretty predictable, so you want to expect that kind of thing, and that will help uh, you deal with your feelings about it. Um, so you know this if violent behavior in a relationship continues, if it's allowed to continue, then um, uh, you know, a murder could occur, and that's a tragedy, like happened in the Petito and Laundry case. So if their publicity can help people avoid that kind of a thing, by seeking some safety, seeking help, um, seeking as much help as possible, and getting the other person help, if possible, to get them to think differently and to try to stay calm, that would be fantastic. There's enough violence already in the world. We want to reduce that. And why be in a relationship that's so unhappy? Abraham Maslow was a psychologist, and he developed a hierarchy of needs. It looks like a pyramid or a triangle standing up, and on the bottom are your basic needs. Your basic needs, one of which is safety. One of which is safety. So if you're not feeling safe, you're not really going to be that concerned about meeting some of your higher needs. Okay, so that's one of your basic needs, is safety. And that's where you develop a lot of mental health problems if you don't have that. So this is just some food for thought for you. If you have any comments or questions, be sure to write them and send them to me. Click like if you thought this video was helpful. And click subscribe if you want to see more videos by me. And in the meantime, keep thinking about these topics and improving yourself. See you next time.